and come on for a Q&A. Let's close this. Let me make sure the air is not too loud. Okay, that should be good. So it is my birthday today, which is pretty cool, right? So it's my birthday today, and we are on our way to Amicalola Falls, and it's going to be fun. We're going to have a good time, and we're going on a hiking thing, or hiking. Well, it's not really hiking. It's not a mountain, but it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. Hey! Hey! So we wanted to go ahead and do a impromptu Q&A. I figured we're going to be in the car for an hour and a half. She said, Happy Father's Day, babe.
Thank you.
So we're going to be in the car for an hour and a half, and we wanted to go ahead and use this time. I wanted to go ahead and connect with you, beautiful, beautiful people. I was going to say women, but I have man followers. I have men who subscribe and watch. And I wanted to just say hey to you guys. I feel like I'm always talking to you guys in the comments, but, you know, just some one-on-one time with you guys, and bring you right along. So we wanted to also talk about some things that we get in comments about pretty often. And for me, Ralph doesn't really read the comments as much unless I show him a particular comment that has something to do with him. But for me, I have so many comments lately. Hello, hey Eva, hey, hey, who's that? She said Happy Father's Day.
Thank you. Thank you.
Your marriage is my has been a blessing. Awesome. Awesome. Eliza, that's good to know. That's good to know. I was just telling Ralph earlier, like, it is such a blessing to be a blessing. It's such a blessing to be able to use your mess that you've been through, that's inevitable in life, right? The issues of life, to be able to use those things to bless someone else and help them heal and help them move forward and help them avoid some things. And that's such a wonderful blessing. So thank you guys for always commenting and let me know how it's blessed you. So somebody asked me a question a few days ago on one of the videos I did, and it said, how do you go? What did it say? It said, how do you avoid resentment to God for allowing for God allowing the enemy to deceive you into marrying the wrong person? And I want to go ahead and talk about that before anything else, because that really hit my heart hard, right? Because I did kind of go through a small time after my divorce. I went through a really small moment of feeling resentful, and that resentment I wasn't mad at God. I was more upset because I said, Lord, I feel like you told me that this was my husband. I feel like you said yes when I asked you, right? If you guys have not seen that video, go back and watch that. It's pretty interesting how I felt like the Lord, or I heard the Lord in an audible voice say yes when I asked him, was my ex-husband my husband before we got married? And it wasn't the Lord. It was the enemy. It was the enemy portraying God. And he knew that I wanted a yes so badly that he came and he infiltrated my prayer time. And he told me that this man was my husband, and it wasn't. And so I went through a really tough marriage with him. And so resentful I was. But it wasn't so much that I was resentful for allowing me to deal with that. I was more resentful I felt like, why would you tell me yes? And, I was just confused. And I questioned everything after that. I questioned my ability to hear from him. I questioned my ability to make decisions based off of what I felt like the Lord wanted me to do. Like, that's the resentment. It wasn't so much I was mad at him, but I was just confused. And so the answer to that question is I could not resent him, because at the end of the day, my flesh is what allowed me to marry the wrong person. It was my insecurity. It was my desperate need for a man, a desperate need to be married. And the fact that I was having sex with him out of wedlock, that allowed me to make the wrong decision. So it wasn't God. God did everything he could to make me make the right decision. He did everything he could to help me avoid heartache. Sorry, guys, I know it's shaky, but we're on the highway and it's like, it's shaky. I'm sorry. But he did everything he could to help me avoid the heartache and the issues and the things that I had to heal from. And so it wasn't God's fault. And I want to make that very, very clear. I even did a video on how he actually set it up to where where we separated, my ex-husband and I, during our dating process, we separated. And God was like, this is not him. And someone from my under me got placed. Yeah. So I'm going to get that. And so, yeah, I was with the separation, but I went to my mom's house for like Christmas or something. And during that time, sorry guys, it's shaky. And during that time, I was lonely. And my family was there, and people were getting engaged, which they're actually, the people who got married that had me all jealous, they're actually divorced. Be careful about who you envy, because I was envying their relationship, and then that caused me to call my ex-boyfriend, and we ended up getting married. And, you know, that was a situation that got powerful. I think it was to be alone with you. Thank you. Let's see. So anyway, there's a question. I hope that answered that question. Don't resent God. God didn't do it. You did. I did it. God didn't do it. He tried to save me. And then listen. Okay. So babe, the question was, what advice do you give someone who is single and they're over 50?
Advice, I'll go straight to the scripture where it says, all things are possible to them that believe. There's nothing, your age means nothing to God. It's all about his timing. If you want to be married, if you want to be in a relationship with another person, male, female, ask him. Because we unfortunately, I think sometimes we don't really look at our relationship with God as a relationship. We look at it as if we've done enough, or if we've been good enough, we haven't made as many mistakes and things like that. God does not care about your mistakes. He loves you too much to worry about your mistakes. And something that our pastor has preached, and one statement that I heard from my pastor is that God already put your mistakes in the equation of your life. He already knew you were going to make particular mistakes. He already knew that. He knew that you would grow up a particular way. He knew you would be predisposed to make certain mistakes. He knew these things long before you even came to have life and be birthed out of the womb. He knew this stuff already. So don't think that age means anything to him. He loves you. That's what that is. When you said yes to Jesus, you're now God's obligation, and that obligation is a contract of love.
Yeah.
So when he tells you he loves you, when he tells you things like all things are possible to them that believe, when he tells you delight yourself in the Lord and he will give you the desires of your heart, that's exactly what he means. That's exactly what he means. So age is not a number. What you've done in your life is not a concern. If you have done bad things or whatever the case may be, he gives the most grace possible to get you to just change the way you're doing things, change the way you speak and act or whatever the case may be, and move on with that. But don't think that because of your age or mistakes or anything like that, that you're not
Sorry guys.
that you're not qualified to receive the love that he pours out each and every day.
Guys, I see the questions coming, and after I answer the ones that I have read, I'm going to put the phone and read the other ones, so I'm going to get to them. I want to just piggyback on what Ralph just said. Everything he said was on point, right? I also want to state, just in a different perspective, not a different perspective, but just like in a different tone, that your age is not a number. Your age is only a number. Sorry, your age is not a factor, right? Don't look at age as this thing. I think society says when you're supposed to marry in your 20s, and if you don't marry by your 30s, you're doomed, or if you're not married by your 40s, or well, you need to have children by this time, and we have to get out of we cannot live by the world. We can't live by what the world says is a standard. We can't live by what the world says is the norm. Because honestly, and again, and I've said this before to someone else when they were older and they were asking me, like they're older than me and they're asking me, well, it's a little different because you were in your 20s, or I understand that there's a difference, and I cannot say that I understand where you're coming from, but I do know that there are things in my life that I felt like disqualified me from marriage, disqualified me from a good man. And those things were the fact that I had 2 children. Those things were the fact that I did not have a job when he met me. I had a car, but I didn't have a car for long, so I didn't have a job, okay? And the fact that, my world seemed like it was falling apart. And so when God brought Ralph, I was like, absolutely not. Number one, I'm not going to be vulnerable enough to be with somebody and I need something from them, right? Or not need something from them, but I'm not going to be vulnerable enough to allow someone to help me. That was number one. But number two, I definitely wasn't going to be in a relationship unless I can have control over it, right? That was my fear. And so, sure, to not be vulnerable and things like that. And so my point is, there were things that I felt like disqualified me, and they did not. So some people that may be in their 40s or 50s, 60s, whatever, you might feel as though, well, that disqualifies me, or that makes it a little bit harder, or my prospects are a little bit slimmer. And that is not true. God does not care. I'm telling you, like, it's not, you have to be faithful. You have to exercise faith, and you have to believe that there is nothing that God can't do. And once you truly, truly believe that God can do all things, when you truly believe that, you will see a difference. You'll see a difference in your life. You will see a difference in your ability to have faith in things. So, sister, brother, whoever you are, if you are in your 50s and you are single, so what? That does not mean that God can't do something because you're in your 50s, that your husband or your wife is not somewhere because you're in your 50s. The best thing for you to do is seek God wholeheartedly. Make sure that you are living right. Make sure that you are not in any type of sin. Make sure that you are spending time with Him, that you are following Him, and you are pursuing Him. You're pursuing purpose. You're pursuing destiny. You're pursuing what He wants for you to do on this earth, and everything else will come together. So, there was another question that I just saw. Oh, so someone asked Ralph if how long. The question I believe was, how long were you in sin, and were you abstinent before we got married? And I think they mean like
Before we started dating,
yeah,
like past relationships.
yeah. I think I'm sorry. I read it, but I think it was worded a little funky. I know boondock. Baby, I will do this. Don't look at the thing, babe. You're making me nervous. I got the phone. Hey, can you guys see us? We're in the boondocks. It's buffering. Can you guys see us now? Just a thumbs up if you can see us so he can finish his answer. I'm so happy to talk to you guys. It just makes my day. Okay, good. Yes, okay.
All right, so I'll try to get this out before we
I know, we're in the boondocks.
hit another dead spot. So, a relationship prior to us dating, and this was like probably a year before we actually started dating, and it turned into just a friendship, but it was there was sex was involved, so I was doing the wrong thing, And that's part of what Fagan was saying, and that's why we kind of, why we say avoid sex,
Yeah.
because it really just blinds you and creates that connection with an individual that you probably weren't supposed to be with. So yes, I was sexually involved with my, I guess you could say my ex, but we weren't married or anything. Better.
Right. But I do want to, so I'm not trying to cut him off, but we're just almost where we need to be. So I want to make sure I get all the questions answered, at least most of them. This is true, creating a soul tie. Totally. Soul ties, yes. So, darn, the question was in my mind when you were talking. Oh, snap. I forgot what it was. So I do want to say this, though. Ralph and I are very big on being truthful and honest. And so when you guys ask us questions like that, like, you're always going to get the truth, right? And so I know someone asked before, like, were we abstinent when we were dating? And yes,